You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, the voice of Ring About Wrestling. You are listening to 3 Count Thursday. You got it? 3 Count Thursday. Make it happen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 3 Count Thursday, live here at ngscsports.com, where we never stop. Jim and Ryan here with you. And we'll remind everyone about ngscsports.com. Visit there for all the written content and much, much more of the shows as well. Spreaker and iHeartRadio and the TuneIn Radio app by searching NGSC. Make sure you visit NGSC and follow them on Twitter at NGSC Sports and go to Facebook.com/NGSC Sports as well. Again, we are 3 Count Thursday Wrestling Podcast. You can podcast our show directly by searching 3 Count Thursday in your podcast store. When we talk about that and our social media sites, it is always the number 3, never the word 3, is 3 Count Thursday. Facebook.com/3 Count Thursday. Twitter and Instagram are at 3 Count Thursday. Give us a follow, give us a like, tell your friends, make sure they do as well. We are here each and every Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are just a few days away from Survivor Series, and we're going to catch you up on a little housekeeping. Before we do that, let's bring in our co-host, Ryan. Ryan, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, Jim. I'm good. I'm glad you always bring me in before the housekeeping so I can help sweep the floors.
Absolutely,
That's what
Ryan.
happens. How are you, Jim?
Doing good, man. It's been a long week. It's been a very long week for me. The reason why is because I am on vacation all of next week. So the last week of work when building up to a vacation is always very, very long. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you have going on at work, it is always a very long process. That's what I'm going through this week. How are you, buddy?
Dude, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. We've talked about it before. I work retail, and everybody knows Black Friday is all of a week away. So just, man, they're working me to the grind. But great time of the year. Times go fast, that's for sure. Days go very fast. So
It is.
I always enjoy sitting down Thursday night, tapping the brakes, and just talking about wrestling.
Yeah, it's always a good time. Now, tonight, of course, we have our interview with Beatrice Priestley. We're going to be airing that. You and Matt actually recorded that interview a couple of days ago. Before we get to that, we want to catch everybody up to speed. Next week, there will be no live show. Of course, next Thursday night, I will be probably passed out on a couch somewhere because of all the what's that chemical in the turkey?
Some
sort of
tryptophan.
Tryptophan, the chemical in the turkey. I will probably be passed out on a couch somewhere. Unfortunately, Ryan, you will not be.
I will be working.
You'll be working.
Yep.
For those that don't know, Ryan works in retail.
I said that 2.5 minutes ago.
Did you?
I did. That's okay.
I apologize.
Nope, you were still gloating about your vacation, which
Yes.
I'm excited about because now Ryan and Matt don't have to hear you bitching. Well, Jim never gets a vacation. Jim finally gets his vacation.
Oh, no. Like, I'm on
No. I said what I said.
I'm on vacation from my day job. If next week wasn't Thanksgiving, I would still be doing a podcast. So I wouldn't be on vacation from the podcast, but we're splitting hairs there. So, yeah, next week, no live show. Ryan, you and I are going to record one sometime earlier in the week to recap this Sunday's Survivor Series, to recap this coming Monday's Raw. So we'll put that out there here again. NGSC
I don't think
Sports.
we're going to be able to watch this Monday's Raw.
Why wouldn't we?
We're down in New
We're
Jersey.
going to be away. We will be able to watch it because I DVR it every week.
Okay, we'll catch it then. That's
So
fine.
we'll catch Raw. Then we'll record a podcast. We'll get it up on
I
the
have a lot to talk about.
NGSC Sports Spreaker page here, where you are listening to the show live.
We've also got LCW to preview.
We do have LCW to preview next
damn,
Saturday
what a busy
night. We have a
week.
lot of stuff. Before we get to that, though, of course, this Sunday Survivor Series, but also this Monday, the reason we will not be watching Raw live is because Ryan and I are going to be going down to New Jersey. We've been talking about it for weeks to record an episode of the PBR podcast. If you've never listened to that, go to at PBR Pod on Twitter, pbrpodcast.com. Check out the show. If you're a podcast listener, subscribe to it on your podcast apps. I know it's on iTunes. I'm sure it's on Android somewhere. So check that out. Subscribe to them so you'll hear not only all of their shows, but we're on it. When our show airs, you will hear that. So very exciting stuff there. Going to be plenty to talk about next week. And then when we come back from our holiday, we have TJ Mathis. He will be joining us on Thursday, December 3rd. He is a great local talent here in Central Pennsylvania. He's going to be talking about the Legacy Wrestling show coming up on Saturday, December the 5th, that he will be actually tag teaming with the Big Valboski at Legacy Wrestling. And then on December the 12th, Kennedy Brink will be joining us live here on the show. So a couple of
Woman of the Week.
Yes, former Woman of the Week. So we have plenty of great guests coming up. But before we get to any of those, before we get to Raw and our Survivor Series predictions, you and Matt Ryan had a chance to talk to Beatrice Priestley. She is an independent superstar out of the UK, correct?
Originally out of New Zealand.
Okay.
From New Zealand, just recently relocated over in England, and is heavily training now in England. Did some wrestling in New Zealand, kind of training to the British style right now over in the UK. So I don't think she's actually wrestled any matches yet while in the UK, but doing a ton of training right over there now. Make sure you give her a follow. And I know at the end of the interview she goes over all of her social medias, everything like that. But thank you very, very, very much.
Yeah.
For sitting down, and it's kind of always a challenge when we're taking a call from the UK, long distance call.
Right.
I think she was dropped one time. We had to do a little bit of editing.
I think you had a couple drops. Yeah, we took care of kind of cleaning up some of the audio,
time frame, everything like that. But thank you so much for going out of her way to sit down and talk with us.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. So without any further ado, let's get to the interview you and Matt conducted with Beatrice Priestley. And on the other side, then we will be talking about Raw. We'll be talking about Survivor Series and quite a bit of wrestling news. It's been a pretty busy week in the world of wrestling. But here's the 3 Count Thursday interview with Beatrice Priestley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us with another special interview here on 3 Count Thursday. Tonight we are joined by Beatrice Priestley in an effort to #support indie wrestling and support women's wrestling all over the world. We couldn't be happier than to be joined by none other than Beatrice Priestley. Beatrice, thank you for joining us on the show tonight.
Oh, no worries, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. We are joined tonight. This is Ryan and Matt from 3 Count Thursday. Jim couldn't be with us tonight. So we just got a few questions we're going to run down with you. If there's anything we don't touch on that you want to talk about, we'll give you some time then at the end of the interview then.
Yeah, sure thing.
Fantastic. So could you give us some background information? Growing up, were you a fan of professional wrestling?
I wasn't actually. I have my whole family hates wrestling, and I've got 2 older sisters, so I basically just wanted to be like my older sisters. And then when I was about 14, I was just flicking through channels on TV, and the battery stopped on Raw, and I think it was the Raw before WrestleMania 26, I think. And yeah, from that moment I was hooked, and yeah, here I am today. So from that point I just continuously watched wrestling, and I'm just hooked, still am. And that was that was in 2010.
Okay, what is the exposure to professional wrestling like in New Zealand? Over here in the United States, obviously the Attitude Era was huge, and still very, very popular today. Is it the same in New Zealand?
Yeah, we get Raw, and we get all the WWE channels and TNA and things. But I think at one point, this is before I started watching, but I think at one point they stopped Raw and SmackDown viewings in New Zealand for some reason. I think so. And, you know, they did the odd show over New Zealand, but they don't do them anymore, sadly. Yeah, but I think, since I've been watching it, it's been fine. But that was, that's not been that long ago.
All right, and what is the indie wrestling scene over there? Can you describe that to us?
Yeah, okay, so we've got, we've actually, indie wrestling in New Zealand's actually picked up quite a lot in the past few years. And we've promotions are actually working together quite a lot now as well. We've got IPW New Zealand in Auckland, which is the one I was previous with 2014, so last year. There's also SPW, which has just started up this year in New Zealand, and that's a very, very great promotion down there. And then we also got Graham Hughes, who used to wrestle in England, and now he's got his own training academy in Auckland, and he basically his shows are just basically viewing his trainees. And there's other ones as well, like there's APW, I think that's in the South Island, or AWA. I know there's so many now, like I can't even remember all of them, but those are probably the main ones. But there's definitely
It looks like we accidentally just dropped her. She no longer connected to the call. Matt, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, yeah, it looks like she got dropped. I don't know. It looks like that was not on our part. Let me see if I can get her back here real quick. Nope, she's totally off of our board. We're going to hang tight and hope she calls back in.
I mean, it's cool that she's saying that there's so many indie wrestling scenes even over there. I mean, as big indie wrestling supporters like we are, it's cool to see that it's like an international thing that's becoming, more common than not, especially in foreign countries. Because it just adds to the roster of available talent moving forward in the bigger companies.
No, it sure does, and something like we talked about a lot ourselves is how much we hope. A goal of mine next year is to visit a different independent wrestling promotion a month. So I'm shooting for 12 different indie wrestling promotions. Doesn't have to be indie, I guess, because I know I'll make a trip somewhere to a WWE show, and there's only so many Saturdays per month that I'm actually free. But hoping to get to 12 different promotions next year is my goal. And it's just really cool to hear that indie wrestling is flourishing, all over the world. That is a really, really good point. And you're right. There's been talent in NXT coming from Australia and stuff like that. So, the further the spread of independent wrestling, the better some of these top promotions like WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor will be.
Yeah, and I'm even going to go one step further because I'm with you with the one indie wrestling show per month, but I think in the next 5 years I want to see an indie wrestling show internationally. Probably not in England, but maybe go down to Mexico and see something that they have down there.
Okay, fantastic. I like that. I'm sure. We're pretty close up to Canada. Not necessarily international when you just cross the Canadian border. It seems being so close to us, but I'm sure there's stuff going on up there too. That's within a day drive, spend the night, and come back. We could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's probably plenty in the Toronto area. I think I've seen some. And with Lance Storm's Academy being in Canada, I'm sure he has, some close by indie promotions that he kind of funnels to.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just joining us on 3 Count Thursday, we are in the middle of a call right now with Beatrice Priestley, independent wrestler, women's wrestler from New Zealand originally, currently just relocated over to England. Having a few technical difficulties right now. She just got through running down some background information, letting us know that she was a fan of pro wrestling. Really only at the age of 14, kind of growing up, nobody in her family cares for professional wrestling. And that's something that we've heard, Matt, a lot actually through these interviews, is wasn't necessarily like born a fan or grew up a fan, but then their teams kind of picked up, which probably would have been for a lot of the wrestlers now, right near the end of the Attitude Era. that maybe mom and dad aren't huge wrestling fans, but are still pursuing their dream and their love of the business.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, I'm glad most of our favorite stars kind of rebelled the way they did, because if not, we wouldn't have seen some of them probably make it as far as they did. I did just get a message from Beatrice. She said her phone cut out. She is sorting it out now, so we should have her back relatively soon. But I mean,
Thank you, Matt.
It's cool to hear her story so far, and I mean, I'm hoping that she can get back into it, because we have some other information that we want to get from her in terms of her career moving forward to make a big move, like from New Zealand all the way to England. I'm anxious to see what she has in the works with that.
Yeah, and of course, like most of our interviews that we do with on 3 Count Thursday, we're going to hit her with the hard question, what her dream match is with the past or present superstar. We'd love hearing those answers, as well as any plans that she has for the future, where we can find her on social media and all that stuff. So I definitely hope she can get everything hashed out here. Looking at the monitor and the board here, she's still not with us. Again, you are listening to 3 Count Thursday, powered by NGSC Sports, where we never stop. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/3CountThursday, Twitter and Instagram at 3 Count Thursday. Matt, shame on me. I haven't even been on the Instagram this week. Who is our Woman of the Week?
Our Woman of the Week this week is Jade from TNA, one of the Knockouts, who is part of the Dollhouse. She's going to be at the WSU event this weekend. I'm attending to kind of support Cherry Bomb, and so I made it her. I'm really anxious to see. She's in a tag match with one of the other Dollhouse members, Marty, and they're facing a tag team. The name slips, but it's two women versus 2 men, so I think it'll be an exciting match.
Okay, all right. You know what? I was on there, and I saw it, and I was excited. And when we had Cherry Bomb on, she was actually talking about Mia Yim, who is Jade in TNA. And then I remember, and everything came full circle for me. That is right. I did hop on there, and I did notice that. Are we in the plans of getting Beatrice on our Woman of the Week?
Yes, that would be in the works. Probably next week, I would assume.
All right, fantastic. Again, if you want to find anything out about our Woman of the Week, it is at 3 Count Thursday on the Instagram page. Matt, again, thank you so much for doing a great job with that.
Yep, no worries.
Absolutely. Folks, we're still hanging on the line here, hoping for Beatrice to get back on the line with us. Again, we are only one question in, really. She made up a really interesting point about maybe they canceled or stopped showing Raw and SmackDown in New Zealand for some time. I'm going to have to look into what that was. If it was something that the WWE did that just kind of stepped over the boundaries and networks pulled the plugs for a little bit. Or, Matt, do you have any insight on what that would have been?
I'm not actually sure. Probably should get some clarification from her about that, because it was interesting. I didn't really even think about it. And it's always interesting to see how, WWE is aired internationally, because we just kind of take this for granted, I think, that we have it so at ease. I don't know how easily it is to get in some countries. I mean, we know that when WWE Network was dropped in the U.S., it was quite some time before other countries started to get it, and I think it was, all these people that say, oh, well, I'm canceling my network, probably just don't realize how lucky they are to have it at this point, because I'm sure there's plenty of people internationally that are just dying to have this stuff, and they don't at this point.
Right, and would probably pay twice as much, or at least a premium price for it. I mean, $9.99, you really can't beat it. Speaking of the network, we are on inside in Undertaker Week, Undertaker's 25th anniversary, coming up here at the Survivor Series. Were you able to check out any of the legends, the JBL legends yet?
I have not yet seen any of them, but it is on my list of things to watch.
I did end up flipping over right after Raw last night and watched the first one live. The second one is up there. You could catch it on demand, or they'll show it live as part of the feed right after SmackDown. And I think we have her back on the line now.
Yeah, back here.
All right, there she is. We are back.
Yeah, sorry.
Welcome back.
My phone cut out.
Oh, no, that's okay. Technology is not always our best friend here at 3 Count Thursday. We know a thing or two about that. All right, we were just leaving off. We were talking about the independent scene in New Zealand, and I think that's going to lead us to our next question.
Okay.
Yeah, so you started your training a few years ago. What were some of the most valuable lessons you learned, and then what have you found most enjoyable about this? Developing moves, or would it be developing character, rapport in the ring with an opponent, that kind of thing? What has been the best part of training for you?
I think it's a mixture of both the character and the actual wrestling side of it as well, because if it was just the character, I'd just go off and do drama or acting on its own. And since I was a kid, I've always been into sports or some kind of physical activity, and I've always been into drama, so it's kind of like a nice mixture of both. I'd probably say in trainings, because I just moved to England about 3 weeks ago. The trainings here are just so fantastic. I feel like I've learned so much in just my 3 weeks of being here. And it's kind of a different style of training as well, and a lot more technical based, and it's just fantastic. I love it so much. But I definitely say it's got to be a mixture of both, because I wouldn't feel satisfied if I just did one without the other.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember I did amateur wrestling when I was about 14, 15, and when I was doing it, I was like, oh, this is cool, but I want to do that stuff on TV. I want to be that character. It just wasn't enough.
Right.
So yeah, definitely a mixture of both.
Okay, now you've been with IPW. You mentioned that before, and NZWPW. Could you tell us what it's like being part of organizations with so many talented wrestlers and such rich history?
I think it definitely drives you, because you're looking up to these people who have just, the guys who are main events, or the girls who are, just having top matches every time. You're like, yeah, I want to be like them. And especially some of the girls in IPWZ, they've just got their bodies are just fantastic. You're like, yeah, I want to look like that, and I just want to friendly competition, if you know what I mean. So it's definitely definitely a drive. I want to be on that level where people will view me as part of those girls, rather than just those girls and then this girl on the side sort of thing.
Okay.
Now, a question we always like to ask is about your first match, the details you remember of it. How did you prepare for it, your nerves going in? What do you remember about the crowd, the reaction from them, that kind of thing? Kind of walk us through that.
Okay. I probably debuted way before I should have. They debuted me after 6 months, and I was only training once a week at this point. I showed up every week, but they wanted me to debut after 4 months, but I said no, because I didn't feel confident enough, because I was like, no, I knew I shouldn't be. And then after 6 months, they're like, yeah, we're going to put you on the show. So I was like, oh, okay. So I got some ring gear made. I've only worn it the one time. So I don't really remember much of it, because I think at the time I was just so happy that I was just in a ring, and I was like, yeah, I'm on a show,
Right.
But I definitely, remember feeling just so nervous beforehand, and then when I went out, I was because I was face, I was just trying to do whatever I could to get people to cheer me, and I got a little bit of a yes, so I was like, yes, they like me, I'm doing wrestling, I'm doing it. And then, match-wise, it was a very, very simple match, but I think for a debut match, it probably wasn't the worst. Definitely probably should have trained longer, but I don't think it was terrible. But obviously if I watched that match back now, I'd probably feel like crying.
Sure.
I definitely felt okay about it at the time, but at the time, I was just so stoked I'd just been in a wrestling ring. So there's not much I really, because that was end of 2012. Yeah, but there's not much I really recall about it, to be honest. Apart from just feeling like, yeah, I'm in a ring wrestling.
Did you win your match?
I did. I won with a cross arm breaker.
Okay. All right. So won your debut. That's a good start.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I'm definitely on top of the moon with that. Like, yeah, I won. I made a tap out. Yeah, I'm the bomb. Like,
watch out, WWE! Here I come.
Yeah, let's go. No, in my dreams.
Now, you recently made the move from New Zealand to New England. How have you been adapting to the new wrestling scene?
Well, on the very first day I arrived, I actually went to an IPW UK show. And because I was already talking to some of the wrestling guys when I was in New Zealand, so they knew, like, some of them knew who I was, they knew that I was coming over. And yeah, that was good. So I just went to the show, and I used to talk to the promoter of IPW UK a lot overseas. So, like, he already knew who I was. And so, yeah, I went and watched the show, saw some familiar faces I knew, and then went and hung out with the promoter after the show, and then I went out with him and some of the wrestling guys, and got food and just got to know some of them. And yeah, I feel definitely, I've been to training since then, and I definitely feel like I was so nervous about coming over and just like coming into a new locker room and just everyone hating me. Like, I was so nervous. Like, I would be like, oh my god, I'm going to go and I'm going to be that new girl that no one's going to talk to. I'll be like the new kid at school kind of feel. So like, oh, right. You know, like in New Zealand scene, it's, you know, it's like, oh, I was like 16 when I was in there, and it was like, I kind of felt like because I was younger, people kind of felt like they had to talk to me. Just because, you know, like, oh, I should probably make her feel welcome, but I was a bit worried over here that they'd be like, oh, like, whatever. But no, I feel I've definitely fitted in, or I'm fitting in okay. Yeah, and at the moment I'm currently training at IPW UK, but I'm also going to try start training at Progress as well. That's hopefully very soon. Yeah, but I've met like Jimmy Havoc and Will Ospreay, and they're just fantastic people. And yeah, I feel very good about it, and the trainings here are just so fantastic. I feel like I've learned like so much in just 3 or 4 trainings just being here. So yeah, I definitely feel good about the move.
Good.
Now, most of your matches that I've seen have well, I guess all of them have been on the internet. I haven't seen you live, obviously, at this point. But you have a good combination of speed and power, so your matches are a lot of fun to watch. What would you say are your favorite moves to use in the ring, and you know, how long did they take to develop?
I've kind of changed my style quite recently. I'm kind of trying to go more towards a sort of like strong style with like a little bit of kicking in there as well, not too much, just a little bit. And I definitely want to, like, main reason I came to England is to learn technical wrestling, because I love British tech wrestling. It's just like Zack Sabre Jr. and people like Marty Scurll are just, I love watching them, just their technical wrestling ability. And yeah, I feel like I'm still a work in progress at the moment with that, because it's like I'm changing my style quite a lot recently, and I'm just still trying to find my niche. Sure. But I think previously I like these neck breakers and like a running kick to the chest from a snapmare sort of thing. But it was just kind of like, oh, like this is a thing I could do, and just it wasn't really much thought behind it. But I think definitely this year, because I've been out for the past year or so, just recovering from surgery I had. It's definitely given me time to think about it and kind of be like, okay, because I did a hipster character when I was in IPW New Zealand, and it was fine, but I felt very forced doing it because it's not me. So I'm trying out a new gimmick at the moment, and yeah, I definitely feel like just going to be trying out to find my niche and try to solidify it with that. So it's still, work in progress sort of thing.
Are you a fan of NXT, or do you follow any NXT?
Yes, I do.
Okay. With the recent influx of Australian wrestlers in the WWE, and most notably NXT, with Emma, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, there's also been a few well-known New Zealand wrestlers popping up in NXT. Have you had a chance at all to work with any of them or seen them wrestle live?
Yes. Evie, who was on NXT a few weeks ago, I wrestled Evie twice.
Okay.
And Armageddon, we have, which are kind of like a big Comic-Con festival thing in New Zealand, and I think they happen about 3 times a year in New Zealand, and IPW New Zealand do all of them. And yes, I wrestled Evie at 2 of those, and then that was in 2013, I think. And and then seeing her on NXT was just like such a proud moment, just her putting female wrestler from New Zealand on the map, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I've watched quite a lot of Peyton Royce and Billie Kay before they were in NXT. They did quite a bit in Shimmer, and because Australian wrestling, I kept up with that quite a lot because it's just just over just right there for New Zealand.
Right.
And I think some people from New Zealand, like Travis Banks and Evie, they go to Australia, quite a lot for shows over there. So it's kind of almost almost the same scene, kind of. So yeah, it's good just to keep up with what's going on, considering they're so close. And we, quite a lot of Australians, they come over every now and then for IPW shows. But yeah, I definitely think the female division in NXT is just fantastic at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a great place to aim to be.
No, we absolutely agree with you. It's probably the best. Well, it is the best wrestling, women's wrestling, especially that we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Folks, again, we are talking to Beatrice Priestley here on 3 Count Thursday, special Tuesday edition. We're recording this Tuesday. We're airing it back today, Thursday, for you. Again, talking to Beatrice Priestley about her career and women's wrestling in general.
Now, to kind of piggyback off that, we're big fans of women's wrestling here at 3 Count Thursday. We try to promote it as often as we can, bring the attention of rising stars to other people's attention. And it's been great in the indie scenes and smaller promotions, kind of a few that you mentioned, Shimmer and those kind of things. But it seems to be struggling to catch on, unfortunately, at the highest level, which would be WWE. NXT, it's great. And then it seems like when they come up to WWE, the crowd doesn't get into as much. So we always like to ask, what would your suggestion be to see the division flourish the way we know it can at the highest level?
Matt, it's going to be a cliffhanger there. It looks like she dropped off again. Just checking our control panel here. She is no longer with us again. Again, we're trying to get Beatrice back on the phone with us. We are talking with Beatrice Priestley here on 3 Count Thursday. Again, find us on Facebook, facebook.com/3 Count Thursday, on Twitter and Instagram at 3 Count Thursday. It's always the number 3, never the word 3. So, Matt, so far, what are your thoughts on the interview? What have you taken away from the interview that we've had so far?
I think the main thing that I've gotten out of this is that I need to start checking out some British wrestling, because I don't see a whole lot of international wrestling, I'll be honest. Some of the stuff from Mexico I'll see online, and occasionally some matches like she had mentioned earlier from Shimmer I'll see, but I haven't really delved into the whole British scene at this point. I think I'm going to now, since she's saying it's much more on the technical side.
Absolutely, yeah, really good point. And like you said, we said this earlier, it's just nice to know that indie wrestling is flourishing all over the world, that it's not just a United States thing. And obviously places like the UK are going to have some really, really good talent and stuff, but it's just really good to hear that it is kind of a worldwide thing, indie wrestling, and and so much young talent out there that unfortunately will remain undiscovered unless you go out there and actually check out some of those shows yourself. I think we got her back. We got her back again.
Yeah, I'm back.
There she is.
This is the worst.
No, that's okay. Again, we thank you for calling in and joining us. And international calls, this is bound to happen. It's no problem at all. We have just a few more questions actually for you. And I think we let off. I'm not sure where we actually dropped you, but I think Matt was talking to you about how great indie wrestling is on indie scenes and some smaller promotions. But on the highest level, being the WWE, it's kind of struggled to catch on. And what your suggestions would be to help that Divas division, if you will.
What do you mean? Like, help? Like, can you rephrase that? Like,
sure. Like, if we see the fans really get into women's wrestling in the indie scenes. Shimmer, Shine, those kind of companies are really taking off. And even in NXT to an extent. But then when they get up to WWE, it seems like the crowd doesn't give the reaction that we kind of come to expect when we see these people, like a Paige or a Becky Lynch who were, beloved in NXT, and it's kind of a lukewarm response in WWE. So we always kind of like to ask, what would your suggestions be? How do you think, we can really get the fans into women's wrestling at the highest level?
well, to be fair, I do not know, because it's always like a different vibe in NXT to it is when you watch Raw or SmackDown. And I personally don't know why. But it's very like, yeah, if you go see Shimmer or Shine, you see the crowd, they're hot for women's wrestling there, they're hot for it in NXT. And I don't know if it is just because it's more of that indie feel, like more of the, because it is a smaller arena or venue, so I don't know if it's more the connection with the crowd or something, I don't know. But I do know what you mean by that, but I would have no idea on how to fix that.
Do you think a lot of... I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
We always just like to get input of people who are actually in the business, because, we can say all we want on 3 Count Thursday, but, it's better to hear it from people who are in the business, because, you obviously know more about it than we do at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, because I see stuff sometimes on social media, and they'll be like, oh, the Divas match is just a bathroom break sort of thing. And it kind of hurts reading that, because it's like, oh, great, like that's where ultimately you aim to be. You aim to be on the same stage as those girls. But if people are talking about it like that, it's kind of like, oh, like they don't, it kind of gives the feel that they don't really care that much. But,
sure.
But yeah, like I do get what you mean, and I don't know if it is just because it's a bigger arena, or if it's just like the connection with the crowd or anything. But with the guys' matches, they're certainly all in with that. But I do know what you say, but I do not know the answer for that one.
Sure. All right, now one question we always like to ask. What would be your dream match? Pick any past or present superstar. You can pick more than one if you want. And you can choose the stipulations of the match. What would it be for you?
I think at the moment probably I would pick Sasha Banks. Or Alexa Bliss. I love Alexa Bliss. Like she's so her whole like #small but fierce thing is just so legit for her. But yeah, I probably definitely pick Sasha. And Paige. I do love Paige. Or Lita. Lita's Lita's one of my favorites. Or I think Maurice. She was my favorite, my very, very first favorite diva. I just loved her character, which she just brought to the ring. Or Gail Kim. She's phenomenal. And probably Stipulation would just depend on who it would be. I've always, at the moment, I've got a really, it's probably not the best thing, but I really want to do a death match at some point in my life. Mm-hmm. So just to try it out and be like, oh yeah, this is cool, or yeah, not doing that again.
Right.
But just to say I've done one. Yeah, so probably a death match is one of those deals. But a girl from the Indies who I'd really love to wrestle, it would be Crazy Mary Dobson.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's I love her.
She's awesome. I mean, a death match with you and Crazy Mary Dobson.
Yeah,
sign me up. I'd watch it.
Done. Book it.
That was the first name that popped in my mind.
Really?
That, or Lufisto was the other one that popped in my mind when you said death match.
Crazy Mary. I saw she had the death match she did with Jack Jester and Jimmy Havoc in ICW a few years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that was crazy. They threw her off a balcony.
Right.
So that's one I'm going to have to look up. I must have missed that. So it's kind of wrapping everything up here. What are your plans for the future?
Future is just to try and make a name for myself in the UK. Like, you should be seeing me hopefully on shows sometime next year. Just trying to shake off some of the ring rust. And yeah, so hopefully I'll be going out making a name for myself over in the UK early next year.
Okay, so any upcoming events that we should be watching out for right now, or is it all just training?
It's all just training at the moment, but I would keep an eye on IPW UK stuff at the moment because those are the guys I'm currently training with. But just keep an eye, and then keep an eye on my social media as well, because anything which has got me involved in that, obviously I'll put up there.
Absolutely. Give us a shout out. What are your social medias?
So at the moment, my Instagram is B Priestley, PW, and then my Twitter, which I probably will start using more, is at B Priestley. And I don't know.
All right. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you get going tonight?
No, I think that, just keep an eye on the UK scene. Next year, probably, hopefully, the beginning of next year, I'll be around on the UK scene. And yeah, just thanks for having me. And sorry for all the cutting out. That was a bit of nuisance.
Oh no, like we said, that will definitely happen. We thank you for joining us as well.
Oh no, no worries, mate.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll be promoting this interview coming up on our social media, 3 Count Thursday, both the Twitter and Instagram. So we'll make sure that people know where to follow you.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's a great chatting, guys.
All right, thank you again.
Thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right, there you have it. 3 Count Thursday speaking with Beatrice Priestley. Again, this will be airing on our Thursday show, Thursday, November 19th. Thank you again so much for her joining us. Again, we apologize for any sort of technical issues that we bumped in with on there. It's bound to happen with international calls, so not a huge deal. Matt, thank you again for joining us, and I will speak to you live Thursday night.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. It was tough with the technical difficulties, but it's awesome to get the input from an international wrestler, kind of get a different perspective on the scene than what everyone from around here is used to.
Right, absolutely is. All right, folks, there you have it. Thank you for listening in. I have no clue when this is going to go on the show, if we're leading off with it or if it's closing. So if it is closing it, I'm sure Jim's going to run it down, but let me run it down one more time. You can find us Facebook.com/3 Count Thursday, Twitter and Instagram at 3 Count Thursday. We're live every single Thursday at ngscsports.com, where we never stop. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great night.
This is Gigi from Tough Enough. Welcome back to 3 Count Thursday.
back, everyone, to 3 Count Thursday live here on NGSCSports.com. Jim and Ryan here with you. Again, a great interview there with Beatrice Priestley. We thank her for the interview that she gave with Ryan and Matt earlier in the week, and we certainly, again, do appreciate that. We're now going to get to our Raw recap. This was a very big week. Obviously, the go-home Raw going into the Survivor Series pay-per-view this coming Sunday night. So we have plenty to go over there. Some quarterfinal matches in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament, and there was another quite controversial thing to come out of Raw. That, of course, being the Tyler Breeze versus R-Truth match. No, I'm just kidding. We all know we all know that topic is going to be out there, and we will get to that in just a few minutes. But Ryan, let's look at the quarterfinal matches. You had Roman Reigns and Cesaro, Alberto Del Rio taking on Kalisto.
During the interview.
Maybe. I'm fat and I'm hungry. What's it to you? Alberto Del Rio taking on Kalisto. You had Kevin Owens taking on Neville and Ziggler taking on Dean Ambrose. The shortest of these matches was the Del Rio match at 10 minutes and 4 seconds. Roman Reigns and Cesaro at 20 minutes and 21 seconds. All the matches, Ryan, I actually really enjoy them. This whole tournament, we can argue all we want about who they put in to these matches. We can argue all we want about whether it's the right decision of who wins the matches, but the matches themselves have been very good in my opinion. Do you have one, Ryan, out of the 4 from this past Monday that you say was the better of the 4?
Kevin Owens versus Neville started the show. The third longest, 10:44, 10 minutes 44 seconds. Jim, that was the one I thought that set the pace for the matches. The one I didn't care for the most would have been Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, just because they have very similar styles. They oversell all a little bit. It's a little bit rough around the edges. It's just kind of this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Ultimately, no surprises here. I think once we saw the initial breakdown of how the grids were, we all could have pinpointed it was going to be Reigns, Del Rio, Owens,
sure,
and Ambrose.
Sure.
A few surprises there a week back with Kalisto over Ryback. And in my opinion, Neville over Barrett kind of surprised me a bit. I thought we could have put Barrett in there. Not that I'm upset that Neville was put in there. I think Neville deserves a spot. And again, I think the entire night, the opening match stole the show. And that was the Neville match. I love the story that they told. Neville trying to go up top, hit the high spot, never able to actually get to it successfully and hit it. And then Kevin Owens picking up the win. But you know what? It's hard to get behind Kevin Owens. He's just such a lazy wrestler.
We'll definitely talk about that as well, Ryan. Some social media fun between Kevin Owens and Melissa Joan Hart. Fun, serious. The IWC taking it very seriously, the whole situation. Shocking. Before Monday went on the air, I put out before Raw went on the air, I put out a tweet. What are the odds Cesaro wins tonight versus Roman Reigns? We had 24 votes. I put it out there Monday, so I didn't expect a huge number of votes.
I love the Twitter polls, by the way.
Absolutely do. It's because
a great addition to Twitter.
You get people subscribed to the podcast. You don't know how many people are listening live, so it gives the opportunity to interact with your fan base.
What else are you going to do tonight? First of all,
exactly. What are you going to watch? SmackDown? Are you going to watch the Titans and the Jaguars?
Right.
I think it's 6-6 at halftime. Bore Fest.
Why would you even give that game a chance?
Because nobody would watch it on Sunday. People are going to watch it on Thursday because it's football.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd catch up on sleep before, and I'm a big football fan, Jim. You know that. If it wasn't for having to do a podcast, I might be watching a little bit of SmackDown, but I'd be falling asleep.
Yeah, obviously we don't get to watch the Thursday night games, but
they're on. We don't get to hear them, but they're on.
Yeah, we have them on the TV. But 75%, or excuse me, I put the options out there. Less than 25% chance Cesaro wins, or 75% chance or more. 83% of the people voting gave Cesaro less than 25%. 83% said less than 25. 17% said 75% or more. So we pretty much knew that Cesaro was going to win.
No.
Excuse me,
No,
Cesaro was going to lose. Reigns was going to win. And he did. Roman Reigns did. Reigns won. Del Rio won. Owens won. Ambrose won. So I don't think that, like you said, there was any there weren't any surprises there. I love the Owens-Neville match. It was spectacular. I don't know which one, either that one or the Cesaro-Roman Reigns match, which one I liked more. I'm actually going to say I like the Reigns-Cesaro match more, just because I was pretty sure what we were going to get with Owens-Neville. I didn't know what we were going to get with Reigns and Cesaro.
You know what I didn't think we were going to get, and that was that reverse Hurricane Rana.
Yeah, well, yeah. There was some moments.
Which is a spot. I'm not calling that the reason, but
sure, there were some spots in the match that surprised me. But overall, I knew that they were going to give us a spectacular match. I had no clue what we were going to get from Reigns and Cesaro. So I'm going to say that one I actually liked more than Owens versus Neville.
Okay.
The worst one, I don't know which one I'd like the least. Maybe the Ziggler Ambrose one, because I expect a certain level out of seeing those two guys, and they didn't live up to it. I've actually felt this way about a fair amount of Ziggler matches lately. That they just seem to not go smoothly. They just seem like, I don't know if he's fighting the other guy or they're both trying to do more than the other guy and they're just not meshing together. But I feel like this is something we're seeing a lot out of Dolph Ziggler matches. Del Rio Kalisto, it was quick. You had the botch when Del Rio accidentally pulled Kalisto's mask completely off.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, you missed that?
Kidding me?
Yes, his
mask
mask came completely off. Kalisto was like up in the corner, and Del Rio pulled it off and then helped him get it back on. I mean, it was pretty quick.
How the hell did I miss that?
But I don't know, but you can tell that it was not obviously supposed to come off. It was supposed to be the old gimmick, I'm going to take your mask off, and I don't know if it wasn't tied tight enough. Kalisto didn't get his hands quick enough. If it just came off a lot easier than it was supposed to, I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, the mask came completely off for like a quick second, and they did a good job of getting the camera kind of away from the tight corner shot to more of a broad shot. So if you weren't.
You keep talking. I'm going to look it up on YouTube right now.
Okay,
because I totally missed it.
But yeah, if you didn't necessarily look for it, you weren't necessarily going to see it. It happened fairly quick. Now, I put another poll out there. I've actually done 3 this week. These Twitter polls. I may have a problem. It may be like a borderline as much as I have the WWE shop problem. I'm having a Twitter poll problem, but.
Speaking of which, it does talk about our WWE shop. I just found it. I can't believe I missed that. Like, it's pretty obvious.
It is obvious,
right?
But it was very quick. So,
and you can tell he's definitely trying to help him put it back.
He's like,
on.
oh shoot!
And they're fighting each other, trying to put
the mask back on.
Right.
Yeah,
it looks like
yeah.
it's harder for them both to try to do that right now. The WWE shop's dropping some Black Friday deals early, and they've all sucked.
It was like what? Stocking stuffers, today's title belt and title belt accessories. I forget the one that was on Monday.
Here's the deal: like, I wish I had a couple $100 to drop on a title belt.
Sure,
I totally do.
And if you're in the market, I guess it's a good thing. Like this is a good sale.
All right, right. If you're in the market to buy a $300-$400 belt,
sure,
today was the day to do it.
Right, but who's really?
But you know what's exciting? Tomorrow's payday, so let's drop a good T-shirt sale on us tomorrow.
That's what I'm hoping. But I need to save some of our money to make the trip to New Jersey on Monday. But I'll be curious to see what they come up with this weekend on WWE Shop. But I did I put a poll out there. Was Roman Reigns carried by Cesaro, or did he hold his own this week on Raw? 58% of the vote says that he was carried. 42% said that he held his own. So almost 50-50.
That's close.
I actually think he held his own. There was moments where I think Cesaro carried the weight, but I mean, you're in a wrestling match. You're not going to have, and this match was 20 minutes long. If Cesaro would have carried Reigns through the entire match, you would have been able to tell. I mean, it would have been obvious that he wasn't there. So my vote, Ryan, is that Roman Reigns held his own.
I voted that he was carried by Cesaro from my personal Twitter page. I didn't want to sway anybody's opinion and vote for our own poll, which seemed ridiculous, so we didn't do that. But yeah, I'm just not sold on it yet, man. And I part of it, and it was a good match. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, it wasn't as good as the KO Neville match, in my opinion. Really nice long match for Raw, by the way. 20-minute match on Raw. That's solid. That led, I think, the third hour, correct? That was the lead-off match of the third hour.
I was a little confused by the timing of it.
Because the match that was after that was the Del Rio Kalisto match. That was the last match of the night.
Right, that was like, get out there quick and do this before the Divas are on.
Right. So the whole booking of that seemed weird to me. But it was a fun... if you are going to argue that Roman Reigns is not getting better, I don't want to have that argument with you. Because he absolutely is.
Sure.
Cesaro is out of his league, though. Like, Cesaro is that much better.
Cesaro's clearly better, yeah.
Clearly.
Absolutely.
Twice the wrestler that Roman Reigns is.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, and our polls are a good indication that the entire, at least our following in WWE universe, is getting behind Roman Reigns.
Sure. I mean, I think you can hear what, the crowd on Mondays, and
he is no longer the Eva Marie of the main roster.
Oh,
we can say that.
If we have time, we'll get to NXT, but yeah, the NXT universe was definitely not too happy to see.
Let's make sure we have a little bit of time, because you watched NXT last night.
I
right?
did watch NXT.
So we both watched
night.
it. We ought to talk about it real quick.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Overall, I thought that Raw was a pretty good show. Now you had this Divas segment, and I am going to open up to listener calls if people want to get in on this, because this was the hot button issue of the weekend, or of the week of Raw. The number 401-347-0613, and then enter the pin 29312. Again, 401-347-0613, and enter pin 29312. This one, and the poll answer may surprise you, Ryan. The poll results on this one may surprise you. You had the Divas contract signing. It was, of course, Paige and Charlotte in the ring. A segment that, it surprised me, was on last.
Shouldn't have been.
I don't mind that it was on last, but when it was executed...
Okay, poorly executed.
It was poorly executed. They just seemed... It just seemed very struggled, very broken. Charlotte struggled her way through it, I think, because of what was said. Obviously, what was said, Paige said something along the lines of, Charlotte was saying about how much she's a fighter, and being a Flair, she's a fighter, this and that. Paige said something along the lines of, your baby brother wasn't much of a fighter. Of course, her brother, for those that don't know, had passed away. It was a drug overdose, I believe. And then there was a huge brawl. That's how Raw went off the air, pull-apart brawl. And immediately, the internet world, the internet wrestling world, very much divided. Was this right? Was this okay? People defending it was okay. It adds realism. Everybody wants realism. Then there was the how could you go that far? It was in poor taste, this and that. Before we get to our thoughts, Ryan, I put it out on the Twitter. Did Paige go too far with her comments? 62%. Now, about 25 people. I put this out it was yesterday. 62%. The options were way too far, definitely okay. 62%, definitely okay. 38% said it went way too far. Do the results of the poll surprise you?
Man, they do. They really do. Boy. Did Paige go too far with her comments about Charlotte's brother Reed? I instantly called it out. We were messaging each other. We usually, if we're not on Twitter, and was it on Twitter that I was messaging you?
I think you and I were discussing. I was obviously I was tweeting from the 3 Count page, and I think you and I were. And
good call to Chase to be able to tell who's tweeting. Like he follows us that well.
He knows
that he knows who's who.
I mean, we've made it very clear that more times than not, I am
it is Jim, right,
running the Twitter,
right.
But you can usually tell when it's me, because I will sometimes try to draw the ire out of people. I'll admit it. As I think that is partially the purpose of social media, is to be social and to get reactions and to see how people react to it. So, I will throw things out there. I'll throw ideas out there. I'll throw opinions out there that I know will get reactions. For me, Ryan, this is my take on it. And as the last couple days have come out, it's come out that Charlotte's mom did not know about it. Ric Flair did not know about it. He addressed it on his podcast. He basically said he didn't know about it, but he didn't really want to give his opinion on it because he didn't want anything to affect Charlotte's place in the company. So I'm sure he probably wasn't happy. I mean, this is only a couple years old. This only happened, I think, 2.5, 3 years ago, something like that. There's conflicting reports of whether or not Charlotte came up with the idea or Charlotte just okayed the idea. WWE released a statement today through F4W Online, and it said that, that they wouldn't do an angle like this. They wouldn't do something like this without the approval of the performer, the superstar, etc. So basically, it was either WWE's idea and Charlotte okayed it, or Charlotte came up with the idea. I have a hard time believing necessarily she came up with the idea, but as long as anybody in the Flair family, herself included, was okay with it, I am okay with it. Because sometimes, in my opinion, you have to make wrestling feel real. You have to make it seem like there is legitimate heat between your two competitors. And I didn't feel that until what Paige said. Nothing was believable. And I think what is also going to happen here, whether or not it was WWE's idea or purpose behind it or not, is because of what Paige said, Charlotte is going to become a sympathetic babyface, which I don't know if she was totally over as a face, and I don't know that Paige was totally over as a heel, which I think you will get here.
How would Paige not be over as a heel?
Because people were still cheering her.
She's acted like a total bit. People still cheer Kevin Owens, and he's clearly a heel.
Sure. Right, but if they want clear cut cheers and boos, they weren't getting them here.
Why do they want that all of a sudden?
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
All of a sudden want that.
But that is what you're going to get now. Like I said, I don't know if that was their purpose. I don't know if that's what their purpose, but that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a clear-cut face and heel now going into this match on Sunday.
Then they have failed as storytellers. That you've had to pull something so real into professional wrestling. That a guy's death, little over 2 years ago, the guy died March of 2013. So a little over 2 years ago, we're going to pull in his death. And honestly, Jim, here's my problem with it. And we've discussed this at a decent length. No, I don't even want to say we discuss it as a decent length. Anytime one of us starts to get going, we're like, you know what, save it for the show.
Mm-hmm.
You're okay with it because a Flair approved it. Doesn't matter which Flair, a Flair approved it.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. And you had said that it was good that it was Charlotte because she shouldn't have to run to Daddy to get everything approved being Ric Flair.
Sure.
And it's okay that Ric Flair didn't know anything about it. I think Ric Flair is legend enough in the business that he deserves a say in this. It's his son. It originally came out that the mother had no clue about it, which I could understand. She's not in the business. But if Rick is still in the business, which he is, clearly, and she has called out Ric Flair before, like Charlotte, about Daddy and things like that.
Sure.
Like, there's no hiding it. They're not hiding the fact that she's a Flair.
No.
She looks just like Rick, for God's sakes.
She does. God bless her.
I just don't think she has enough gusto, enough balls, only being on the main roster for 2.5 months, to say, you know what, I'm not really comfortable with that idea and not fear any sort of backlash. Going into a pay-per-view that could be rewritten really quickly, that Paige wins the belt. Because I don't think Paige wins at Survivor Series.
Okay.
I would think you're the same way. You're going to have Charlotte retaining?
Yes. Yeah,
which we will get to.
We'll get to the predictions, but yeah, I have Charlotte retaining.
But how comfortable would you be 2 months into your job and be like, you know what, I don't really think that's best, so I'm going to just say no and not fear any sort of repercussion?
But in the same time, she is a Flair. So I don't think she's in the same troublesome spot to say, if she does say no, that Alexa Bliss would be in.
Then just ask Daddy. And like I had said, here's the deal. Like, we both have brothers, and this is not a knock against my brother. But if my brother were to pass away, I have a feeling I would get over it quicker than my mother or my father would.
Absolutely.
Like, a parent losing a child is a horrific
different
thing.
than a sibling losing a sibling.
Correct. I mean, I would be very, very upset. I would be absolutely distraught.
I would too. If something happened to my brother. Right.
God forbid. But I would get over it faster than a parent would. And I don't know if 2 years is long enough. And here's the deal. Have enough respect to then at least run it by Rick. And maybe that's Charlotte's responsibility. I don't know who. Maybe it's Paige's responsibility. Hey, Rick, I just want to let you know that there's an angle written, yada, yada, yada. And I know we're tearing down kayfabe and everything like that. But when you're going to pull something that real into something as quote-unquote staged and fake as professional wrestling, I think the people involved should be notified. And I don't think you need it. Like, if you are going to be a good enough storyteller, you don't need to pull in something so real. Like, bring up the fact that he died, but don't bring up the fact that you're as weak as him and he wasn't a fighter.
I mean, I understand. I can see the argument, and I can understand the argument. And I get that you don't necessarily need to do that. But I don't have a problem with it. Like,
would you have had a problem with it if it was Bret Hart and somebody's making a comment about Owen 2 years after Owen Hart died?
I don't know.
Because I know you're a big Bret Hart fan. And I'm not a huge Charlotte fan or anything. But does that sway maybe your opinion?
It could. I mean, you bring that up.
Different story, like different circumstances.
Sure. I don't.
But like if somebody said, Bret, you're like Owen and you don't have a strong backbone. You know what I mean? Like, shit, that's tough. Excuse my French.
But I don't know. I don't know. And if they do this again in the future, with some other. I
mean, and again, at the same time, I'm not trying to say he died of an overdose. So it was self-inflicted. Like the Owen Hart thing was accident. I mean, there are definitely differences before anybody gets on my case.
Sure,
about drawing
you're right.
the similarities.
We're not trying to. You're not trying to say
differences.
that one's equal to the other.
But if we're going to strip it down to a death
of a sibling,
and then making comments about it, how hard that would be. That's tough.
It is tough, but I mean, it's not the first time that WWE has maybe crossed a moral line with the story. I mean, a couple years ago,
first time in a couple. Everything else is pretty much Attitude Era when they've done things like this.
Well, but I mean, even if you look at
the Big Boss Man's dad.
Well, but I mean, you had Randy Orton telling Eddie Guerrero or Vicky Guerrero that Eddie's in hell.
Yeah.
You had, and I know it's a little bit different, but you had Nikki telling Brie that she wished she would have died in the womb. I mean, you could very easily say, well, that there's people who have had, one twin die in the womb or a stillborn baby. Like anything like that can be construed as and be taken as offensive, can be taken as over the line, as too far. But, as uncomfortable to hear, yes, sure. But, I mean, this is entertainment. This is television. And I know that crosses into reality. And it's a hard line. And for people, for people that feel the way I do and for people that feel the way you do, I don't know that you're ever going to get... Not that we're trying to. Not that I'm trying to get you to, come to my side, or you're trying to do that to me, because I don't think anybody will sway the other side.
No, I'm not trying to either. You're right.
But I absolutely had no problem with it. Like, I know Matt and I were, between you and me and Matt, our stat guy Matt, he's not with us tonight. He did send his Survivor Series predictions, so we'll get to those. And we'll wrap up our thoughts on this. But, we were messaging each other during this segment, wow, this segment's really boring. I can't believe they put it on the end like this and not Reigns versus Cesaro. And then Paige said that, and, I put my phone down. It was it just snapped my attention directly. And, I mean, here we are. We're Thursday. Here we are on Thursday. People are still talking about it. On Twitter, on podcasts, blogs, etc. Mission accomplished. Right or wrong, the WWE got what they wanted out of this.
Sure. You're right.
Because people are, I think people are going to tune in Sunday for Survivor Series to see how Charlotte and Paige, how they come out and fight to beyond this. I think it helps people maybe tune into Raw next week to see, because it's an element somewhat of a must-see TV.
Sure. Okay.
So again, it may not have been right. It may not have been ethical. It may not have been smart, whatever. But it garners attention. It gets people talking. And at the end of the day, that's what the WWE wants.
Right. Okay.
Really, any more thoughts from this? Any more thoughts from Raw, Ryan?
No. We had said going on, the ratings were up slightly.
Yeah, let me pull that up. The ratings were up slightly. They drew an average 3.29 million viewers, 293 million viewers. I don't have the hourly breakdown.
Okay, so up.
Up from last week's 3.173. The final rating for the show, 2.28, which is up from last week's 2.25.
Okay.
So it came up a little bit. I don't remember what Monday Night Football was this past week. Cincinnati versus Houston. So two teams that don't really jump off the page at me.
Right. Since he was undefeated.
Overall, I thought it was a pretty good Raw. I actually think the Raws, pretty much the whole month of November here, the past couple weeks have been pretty strong. I mean, the ratings haven't necessarily shown it, but I've been actually pretty happy with the Raw product over about the past I'd say about 3-4 weeks maybe.
This is probably the first Raw for me that I've enjoyed in that time span. I've been a bit more critical, I feel, than what you have been of the shows. Other than the ending, which I thought was misplaced, mistimed, it was just a really, really poor ending. A decent show. I love the beginning of it. And the first tweet I sent out is, God, every time I hear those bells toll, it gives me goosebumps. And I'd be damned if that's not true. Every single time hearing those bells toll when The Undertaker comes out, which I'm going to miss here. We're not going to be talking about this a year from now, hearing those bells toll again, so I want to bring it up as much as I can. Fantastic moment to start Raw.
Yeah, it you're right. And I did forget to bring that up, but a cool,
just what I wanted to touch on, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a cool open with the Brothers of Destruction and the Wyatt family.
And hey, we didn't talk about that Tyler Breeze match.
We certainly did not. He did get his first win on Raw, so that's good. Always cool to see the Brothers of Destruction. Always cool with Druids and the Undertaker's music, and it's something that I truly believe that we are on the last. From now to about WrestleMania is pretty much going to be it. It's kind of sad because for us, I talked about it it's crazy that WrestleMania, post WrestleMania 30, like when we first started doing this show, that we thought that was the end of the Undertaker. Well, there's no way he comes back from this. It's really sad because he's like the last of our childhood. And here we are almost 2 years later, and we're seeing Undertaker as almost a regular on Monday Night Raw. So it just kind of gives us that feeling, that feeling again for a brief time. And like you say, I couldn't have summed it up better, Ryan. There's no better way to start Raw.
No, there isn't.
Between a couple weeks back in Texas when you had the glass shattering, and then you had the Undertaker and Kane come out this week with the Undertaker's music and the Druids. Some pretty cool stuff for the nostalgia in me.
What really bums me out is coming up here in December. December the 2nd, we have a SmackDown taping in Hershey. And we've been jonesing for a Raw or a SmackDown, and I know there's no way in hell that Undertaker's going to show up on a SmackDown taping. They've done some announcements about it. I think Kane is going to be on the show, so we're going to get half of the Brothers of Destruction. But I think after this pay-per-view, we will see the Brothers of Destruction. They kind of break up a little bit, so Undertaker can really start building toward WrestleMania. So unfortunately, we're not going to catch him live. I don't think one more
sucks.
time. It sucks.
It's been a long time since I've seen the Undertaker live.
But even if they can maybe just toll the bells and he can release a video or something backstage, I don't care what it is, but I want to experience the bells tolling live one more time. How they could just do it to troll us and I'd be fine. Just to have that experience.
Yeah,
live.
I'd be willing to get trolled on that.
I really would, dude. It sounds awful, but I totally would.
The last thing, this has been fun to watch over the past couple days, stemming from Raw. Melissa Joan Hart and Kevin Owens have been having a Twitter war, so to speak. I guess during Raw, she tweeted something about Kevin Owens being a lazy character or something, or Kevin Owens being
she said a lazy
wrestler. And he responded something along the lines of that he watched one of her shows, I think Sabrina the Teenage Witch, a couple weeks ago, and he's been unable to recover since then. And then he blocked her, and she's been trying to respond to him, and then Big E and another heel superstar blocked her as well, and started the hashtag I Stand With Owens, and people on Twitter have been doing it and tweeting him hashtag I Stand With Owens and showing a screen cap of them blocking Melissa Joan Hart, and she's taken offense to it. And of course, people take it too far because I guess there have been people who have, threatening her family and kids and things like that, which is absolutely ridiculous. But and there's also been people that have been this whole thing with Kevin Owens and Melissa Joan Hart is stupid, like Kevin Owens such a dick. And that's the point. Like, whether or not this is a work or a shoot, like, this is freaking brilliant that social media is being integrated. Like, I know when Fandango and Summer Rae were breaking up on Twitter, I remember we talked about that and was like, what a cool way for the WWE and WWE superstars to be utilizing Twitter to, like, carry on stuff on screen. Like, they should be doing this. Like, if it is a superstar's Twitter, they should be acting as the superstar. Like, Stephanie McMahon, like, I understand why Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, why their Twitter is very, like, humanitarian and whatnot because of who they are in real life with the company. But, like, their on-screen character are heels, or supposed to be. So I don't want to see, like, don't be a bully from Stephanie McMahon's Twitter.
Right.
Like, or, like, she should have one, like, at Stephanie McMahon Authority. And, like, that one, she should be the bully heel. And then, like, at Stephanie McMahon COO or whatever. And that one should be the humanitarian. Like, it shouldn't be one and the same.
Right. Okay.
So, like, I like this Twitter stuff. And, like, people that are taking it too seriously, just stop. Stop. Just, if you're annoyed that this is happening, stop. If you are threatening Melissa Joan Hart, stop.
For God's sake, here's the problem with the threatening of Melissa Joan Hart. She just tweeted, I think it was today. Let me just make sure. Was it today? Yeah, it was today. I guess what the hell's his name? Not Sam.
Yeah, Sam Roberts.
Sam Roberts, that's it. And Taz. She tweeted them both and said, "This is long, so be prepared." I'm going to just read a little bit of it. "There's a reason I don't do interviews about wrestling, and anyone who has asked for an interview, and I will tell you why. I'm a fan of the WWE, the organization, the superstars and divas, the shows, etc. I'm a casual fan, not a smark," in quotes. I use the terminology I learn along the way. Example, smark, work, kayfabe. I learned this week, and I can't even pronounce it. These are all words that we've thrown around, plenty of times. Obviously, we are much more than a casual wrestling fan. We host a wrestling podcast. She goes on to say, "Ask me next week what a smark is, and I'll probably have to look it up. I never claimed to be a diehard wrestling fan. You would know this if you follow my tweets or my blog. Go through my timeline, which won't take long. She's only been watching WWE for about 2 years now, thanks to her nephew who reintroduced it to her. She does not live and breathe wrestling. She barely watches NXT, mostly for the divas, never watches TNA or Impact, and have only seen indie shows on YouTube a few times when a new WWE superstar comes up and she finds them interesting. And she wants to know where they've come from." So she's doing right things. As a wrestling fan, she's doing what I want.
Sure.
So is it fair that she, like, blew up and the whole Kevin Owens thing, and maybe didn't necessarily know the layers of Kevin Owens and the heel of Kevin Owens to be able to do something? Like, because I think she's gotten a lot of backlash about it, and I almost feel bad for her. Like, she sent out the tweet, but I think she, like, sent it out and if she could have pulled it back, she would have.
Like, I don't.
But enough balls to not pull it back.
Sure, I don't know necessarily where the Taz where the response or anything to directly tweeting at Taz, but I know Sam Roberts and Katie Linendahl, the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast this week, talked about this and was saying, we're talking about the fact that he could tell from talking to her, just in person, that she is more of a casual fan, and I don't know if he was trying to attack her, how it came off. I don't know if it got back to her, and maybe that's why she was talking. And I think he said that maybe like trying to have her on the podcast to talk about it. But
I've reached out to her to try to talk about it.
Sure,
and just because it's interesting to me. Here's the deal: growing up, I'm 32 years old.
Clarissa explains it all.
My
wife and I were. It's on.
Loved the show.
It's on one of these Nick
Splat
or something like at night. My wife and I, a couple nights ago, watched an episode of Clarissa Explains It All.
earlier
First
in
of all,
this
cheesy
night,
as hell the show was.
somebody with Ferguson,
Right. And the dad was cheesy as hell, the mom. But it was
Sam
Sam next
came
door
through
with
the window.
Extremely cheesy.
Totally, but it was like 90s TV. And
It was
what
great.
I grew up with.
It was fun.
So somebody dropped, I know, a hashtag Clarissa Explains Raw. And I was like, oh my God, I love it.
That's pretty cool.
That's so fucking cool. That's really good.
But it's just sad that it went so far.
It is. And here's the problem with it. I hope as wrestling fans, we don't burn at the cross casual wrestling fans who are not as knowledgeable as we are. And their opinions still mean something. And the last thing as a wrestling fan today that you need to do is scare off wrestling fans.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
That's the last thing you want. The wrap up for what she had said. Thanks for making me more self-conscious. The negativity amongst internet wrestling fanatics makes it difficult for casual fans to participate in conversations online, and worse for me because my wrestling tweets get attention because she's obviously a celebrity.
Sure.
I guess I'm more of a lazy fan than a casual fan, which was kind of a dig at everybody for, so got a little dig in there. Anyways, that's who I am as a fan, take it or leave it. So good for her, kind of standing her own ground, but it's gotten a ton of media stuff, knowledge and retweets, things like that. I do. I almost feel bad for her, like I said, but she sent the tweet.
Yeah, and it's a shame.
I still love to have her on the show.
I would too.
We don't have to talk about wrestling. We can just talk about this. I don't know what we can talk about.
Sure.
We can talk about anything. I don't care.
But yeah, I agree, man. That it's a shame that because sometimes I've caught myself I haven't actually gone at anybody, be a casual fan on Twitter, but I've kind of rolled my eyes, going oh, you can tell this person never watches. But I never go at them because you don't know. You if you attack them, are they going to watch?
Here's the deal. We both said while we were in college, we've kind of drifted away from professional wrestling a little bit,
right?
And really only until the last 2-3 years really came back in.
Sure. Yeah, and
I mean, and that's evident with my bank account and the WWE shop and the amount of T-shirts that's now hanging in my damn closet. It's obvious.
You know what's cool though? Not to get off track like usual.
Like usual.
But I wear my wrestling shirts almost on a daily basis. Now we're in football season. I wear something football, like a football T-shirt or jersey, maybe on a Monday, usually on a Friday. But there's at least 3 to 4 days I'm wearing wrestling T-shirts to work, and when I first started doing it, and I first started getting a lot of new ones, which is a constant rotation, some guys at work would comment on them. I know one of the first time I wore my Fandango shirt, a guy just kind of was, what the hell? And then I go, it's a wrestling. He's a ballroom dancer. He just kind of rolled his eyes, chuckled, and walked away. But we have a new shipping and receiving clerk at work. And the day I was wearing the first KO shirt, the NXT one, the duct tape one,
yeah,
she goes, is that like a fighting shirt, like a boxing shirt? I said, no, pro wrestling. And I told her the story behind it of when he showed up for promo pictures for NXT, and he only had a regular T-shirt on, so he turned it inside out and put the duct tape on. And I think he actually put in duct tape Fight Owens Fight, but from then they did the duct tape KO shirt. She's like, that's really freaking cool. So then, every day, I wear a different wrestling shirt, and she comments on it, every time I see your shirts, I feel like I want to kick somebody's ass. And I'm like, well, as long as you don't hit me, I'm good. And she doesn't watch wrestling,
right?
But it's just cool to for somebody to actually take notice of the wrestling shirts that I wear.
Sure.
But yeah, don't belittle, don't be mean to casual fans. There are different level of fans, and that's great. If you are a super WWE fan, awesome. If you're a fan of all wrestling and that it consumes everything in your life, WWE on Mondays, and this coming January, TNA is getting a new live show on Pop TV. You're going to go Raw Monday, TNA Tuesday, NXT Wednesday, SmackDown Thursday, New Japan on Friday. Ring of Honor is moving to Sundays on a new network. You're going to just go to an independent.
Locally, we still get Ring of Honor Saturday nights on the Sinclair.
Yeah, like
channel,
and you go to an independent show on Saturday night. Like every day of your life, you're going to spend watching wrestling. That's awesome. But if you have somebody that just will tune into Raw every 3 weeks,
shouldn't we be embracing them?
We should be embracing them, and we should say, "Hey, why don't you watch next week too?" Or tweet at us and we'll discuss it. Hit us up on Facebook, and like we'll kind of catch you up on storylines so you know what's going on. Like if more people in the wrestling community were more welcoming to people, maybe that Raw rating number wouldn't be so bad. Maybe there would be more people that would watch it and then go to their friends, like at work, like, hey, why don't you come over and watch wrestling? We'll like hang out and drink some beers and watch the pay-per-view. Like how many people watch the freaking Ronda Rousey get, crane kicked in her neck on Saturday night? And people tune into that. Like I guarantee you they're not watching UFC on Fox Sports 1 every week. But why don't you just... But people are going to tune in and watch pay-per-view. So why don't you encourage people to, hey, why don't you get the WWE Network on Monday or on Sunday? You can get it for free. Check out the pay-per-view. I'll catch you up on the storylines. We'll hang out, drink some beers, get some pizza. We'll have fun. If people were more welcoming, maybe we could get back to some bigger ratings. Maybe we could get back to better programming.
Like, and let's be honest, we're not talking like mainstream football here. This is not football. This is not the NBA. This is not Major League Baseball. It's a niche market that you have to. And when you find a fan,
embrace them.
Right?
Welcome them in.
Like why would you want to ostracise somebody?
Buy them a WWE
it just
shop
doesn't
t-shirt.
make sense.
Buy them a 3 Count Thursday t-shirt. 3countthursday@gmail.com. $15.
I mean, here's the deal. Like you have somebody. She has the network. She's talking about NXT, and you're going to burn her at a cross for having an opposing view as you. Which, to be honest, I think the whole comment was taken out of context anyway. Like, he's clearly a larger wrestler. I don't think it was picking on his size. I think what she's looking at is as a newer fan, seeing the entire Kevin Owens gimmick, and the reason she doesn't like Kevin Owens is because he can be portrayed as lazy.
Sure.
In her opinion. And here's the deal. She's probably pretty right when you really look at it. We were talking about it earlier. Like he'd drop a senton on you. Like he's not a very flashy wrestler. He's not Neville.
He's not Neville.
You put him in a match against Neville. Neville's going to look like the athlete of the year, and Kevin Owens is going to look like Big Jim and Ryan.
Well, I mean, let's not go that far.
Okay.
I mean, the guy is doing
right. He's a fantastic. I'm
he's
not
doing
taking
very
away
athletic stuff
what
for a
he
bigger
can do.
guy.
Watch his matches with John Cena, and she goes on to say this: like some of the matches he had with Cena were off the charts because he was the more athletic and entertaining wrestler in that match.
Sure.
Over 5 moves of Doom John Cena. So
Right.
when you put him with somebody like Neville, he's going to look like the John Cena in that match.
Absolutely.
Like I think that's all she was trying to point out.
Right. But of course, the IWC, had to
right.
IWC all over.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no other way to describe it. Again, it was amusing as as somebody that does not take it that seriously. It amused me to watch this. But it is a shame it got to the level that it did. But Ryan, let's transition. Let's get to Survivor Series since we are at 11 o'clock. Get this done as close to 11:30 as we can. I know you have work in the morning. So let's get right to it. We got Matt's predictions. Let's look at the semifinal matches for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. We have in the first one Roman Reigns taking on Alberto Del Rio. I have Roman Reigns winning. I don't think there's much of a surprise here that Roman Reigns going to come away with the win. Matt also has Roman Reigns.
Ditto.
So Roman Reigns across the board. No real surprise there. Let's get to the second of the semifinal matches. Kevin Owens taking on Dean Ambrose. Matt has the Ambrose. I actually do too. This one, it wasn't as much of a layup to me because part of me goes, do they want to have two faces in the main event? Do they want to, is it smart to have both secondary title holders lose? This could help Kevin Owens to be in that spot. but ultimately, and to me, it bases on one thing, and I don't know how many people pay attention to these things, but the WWE Facebook account, they may have put it out on Twitter. After Raw went off the air, there was a moment inside the ring between Ambrose and Reigns, and he said, "Look, we're brothers for life." Ambrose said, "But if it comes down to it, if we're in the finals, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat you." So I have Ambrose winning because I think that is what seems to be the logical choice.
They have been teasing a heel turn for a long, long time here. For that reason, I'm going to pick Kevin Owens. So Dean Ambrose can come back and screw later in the show.
Okay.
But I have Kevin Owens, and for the reason, and you already brought it up, I don't think you can put on both of your secondary titles and have them lose to former Shield members just to set up that rematch. So I have KO going over Dean Ambrose. It also here's the deal, it's going to put the crowd behind your face crowd.
Sure.
Behind Roman Reigns. And
Yeah,
you're not going to have
this
it split.
one's in Atlanta. There's the Phillips Arena in Atlanta.
You put Dean Ambrose in that match, Dean's going to pull more of the cheers. And then when Dean loses to Roman Reigns,
okay,
that would be a problem, I think, a booking nightmare. So it's not so much maybe that Kevin Owens, and I think he could win the match on paper. It makes sense for him to win the match. I just think it's better played out that way.
All right, so we'll come back.
So I have Kevin Owens.
Okay, we'll come back to the finals match as our last prediction. Charlotte versus Paige for the Divas Championship. Of course, obviously, we talked about the hot button moment from this past Monday's Raw. Matt has Charlotte. I have Charlotte as well. I think it's too quick to pull the title off of her. There's questions of whether Nikki Bella is even ever going to return to the ring. I guess she's dealing with some bulging discs in her neck. She's trying to avoid surgery. I know she's been doing a lot of therapy. She was actually her and Brie were over in Paris when the tragic attacks happened last week, and they were stuck in France. I believe they're back in the States now. They were stuck in France for a couple of days. So best wishes to Nikki Bella in her rehab. Hopefully she'll be okay to come back in the future. But I think it's too quick to pull the belt off of Charlotte, and I think creating her as this kind of sympathetic babyface, intentional or not, is going to go a long way to help her.
Yeah, It doesn't make sense to pull it off of Charlotte so soon, especially with what we talked about and how vilified Paige is right now. It doesn't make sense to put the strap on her. So Charlotte retains at Survivor Series.
You have the Brothers of Destruction, of course, Kane and The Undertaker, taking on the Wyatt family in a tag team match. I believe it has finally been announced, maybe been announced on SmackDown, that it will be Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Harper and Rowan, I'm sure, will be at ringside for this one, but Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Matt has the Wyatts winning. I have the Wyatts winning. We keep doing it. We keep saying that the Wyatts need to win. The Wyatts need to win. I mean, part of me has a hard time believing that they're going to have The Undertaker lose the 25th anniversary of his debut.
Right.
But, again, how can you have the Wyatts lose? Like, to me, the best way for The Undertaker to go out of this business is if he puts over people. Say he loses to the Wyatts here. Say he has a singles match at Royal Rumble versus another up-and-comer, loses that one, and then whoever he faces at WrestleMania, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I almost say lose at WrestleMania. But, if he has to, win on his last match and then be done at WrestleMania, if that's the plan. But I don't like the idea of Brothers of Destruction winning this match, so I'm going to say the Wyatts.
No, I really don't either. God, how is he going to lose the 25th anniversary match, though? I mean, I have the Wyatts circled. I have the Wyatts in as my pick, but I don't know how to justify it other than the fact that I think Bray Wyatt needs to win here
Sure, and
to carry
especially
the
if they're
momentum.
putting Bray in the match. Like
Right.
if it was Harper and Rowan, or
Easy,
Harper
brothers,
and Strowman,
easy,
or Roman
brothers
and
to the stretch.
Strowman.
Easy.
Easy
Sounds like
for
bread.
me to say.
Right.
I'm surprised they didn't botch one of their names. But the fact that you have Bray in the match,
Right.
to me, he has to win.
You're absolutely right. If Bray Wyatt's going to be represented here, Bray Wyatt has to win this match. And it has to be clean. Okay, no, it doesn't have to be clean. It has to be a pinfall. Like, it can't be a well, I don't know why it would be disqualification. God, I'd hate for this match to end in the DQ.
Oh.
Like, that's the easy way out.
It would be the easiest way out, but it wouldn't...
Harper or Rowan interfere. That would be the easy way out of this match.
Or does you know...
Why even have the match then?
Or do they have, you know, when Harper and Rowan are down there, do they have two more people come out to help The Undertaker and Kane, and then you have a 4-on-4 match? There's definitely some intriguing elements to what they're going to do here.
Maybe Harper turns on Bray Wyatt.
Oh.
That's never going to... Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense again.
Right, it doesn't make sense. I just don't know how they're going to have him lose
right.
the 25th anniversary. Like,
seems, yeah.
I'm torn both ways.
Sure. Dolph Ziggler versus Tyler Breeze. Matt and I both have Breeze. Like, we're picking up a pattern here. I feel like a lot of us are, except for the World Heavyweight Championship match, we've been the same across the board. Excuse me, not even the World Heavyweight Championship, the Owens-Ambrose match. But we both have Breeze. I just think that, you know, if he loses, I mean, counting NXT, that's what, like 12 straight or something pay-per-view special events that he's lost in. I mean, it's getting bad if he loses here, and I think it's important for him to build on the momentum that he's started. I mean, he hasn't had a great entrance. I know we talked about that this past week, or last week, I mean, but I think that if you get a win here against Ziggler, I think it's good, and I think it should happen. Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, I think it starts putting him on a track to picking up a few victories here. I also have Tyler Breeze over Dolph Ziggler, but at the same time, and I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, I could see the WWE putting Ziggler over here because it doesn't make sense. But Breeze needs to win this match.
It doesn't make sense for him, so that's probably what they'll do.
That's probably what right, exactly, right? That's exactly what I just said. But that's as bad as I trust the WWE at this point to do what's right.
Right, exactly. They have announced that there will be a traditional Survivor Series elimination tag match of 5-on-5. As of right now, and I believe that is carrying through SmackDown, they have not announced the participants. They announced that it would be happening on their Facebook and on social media. They have not announced anything further. So we get to do a little bit of fantasy booking of who we think is going to be in that match and who we think is going to win that match. Matt says he thinks it will be the Usos, the Dudleys, and Ryback taking on the New Day and the Ascension. And he has the Usos, Dudleys, Ryback team picking up the win. I went a little bit further. I have the Dudleys, Neville, Cesaro, and Ryback taking on the New Day, Sheamus, and Bad News Barrett. And I actually have Cesaro as the sole survivor.
I also have Cesaro coming out of this match as the sole survivor. However, I had Cesaro, Neville, Ryback. We had the three same there, but I went with the Usos over the Dudleys.
Okay.
I have King Barrett, Stardust, and the Ascension, their little cosmic thing that they're doing. And then I had to pick another heel, so I went with the Miz, because out of dumb luck, Miz is the one that came out.
Just go back and look at some of those early Survivor Series pay-per-views. The teams made no sense.
And which was great. Like, I loved them.
Right.
And here's the deal. Like, we're looking at 7 matches. There needs to be something on a pre-show. That's where I think New Day and Dudleys are going to fit on.
Possibly.
So that's the reason I didn't include either of them on my picks. Which I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, but SmackDown's off the air, and it has not been announced. So,
Ryan,
we'll
there's
see.
this fantastic new thing, Facebook and Twitter.
Facebook's dead.
It is a dying medium.
It died.
We don't like to diet. And finally, the World Heavyweight Championship match, the finals of the tournament. For me and Matt, it was between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Matt has Dean Ambrose picking up the win, joining the Authority. I have the opposite. I have Roman Reigns picking up the win and joining the Authority.
I have Dean Ambrose heel turn. Yes.
Okay.
Not in the match, interfering in the match.
So
I have Kevin Owens winning the match with a cash-in to Cesaro. That is another reason. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sheamus. That's another reason Sheamus did not make my traditional Survivor Series match. By this time, Reigns would have to have, or Kevin Owens would have had to have wrestled 2 matches.
Sure.
So they would have been more worn down than ever.
Okay.
That is why a cash-in, in my opinion,
makes sense.
Writes itself here.
Okay.
So this is and I feel like I've teased it every single pay-per-view since.
Right. How many times have we been calling
Money in the Bank?
There's
only a few more to do it to.
Right.
This would be the one to do it to.
Okay.
Like if the end game is your Money in the Bank holder will eventually hold the title sometime, why not do it now?
Sure.
Why not do it now?
So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to see who they crown as the new champion. I think that they're, there's a lot of possibilities. To me, whether it's, and I know, you could look at it as him being shown as weak or whatever, but to me, if Sheamus cashes in, because whoever's winning here, with the exception of Alberto Del Rio, is a first-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Ooh.
And, I know that they're coming off of this tournament and wrestle 2 matches in a night, so they are vulnerable, so that may not make them look weak. But how strong would it make them look if they wrestle 2 matches, win a title, whether it's Owens, Reigns, or Ambrose? Sheamus, a fresh Sheamus, or in a tag match for me, a relatively fresh Sheamus cashes in, and the new World Heavyweight Champion is victorious. That could start off a title reign strong.
Sure could.
Very strong. So if there is a cash-in, not only because I don't want to see Sheamus with the title, even though I like heel Sheamus more than face Sheamus.
But here's the crazy thing. If heel Sheamus cashes in on Roman Reigns, does that make Sheamus a face? He's going to get a pop.
Yeah. Ooh.
Am I right?
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, let's be honest. They're not totally behind Roman Reigns yet.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that would go. So lots of intrigue going into this. It's always a fun pay-per-view. I've always liked the elimination tag matches. I mean, I understand why we're never going to get a... And we never had a... back in the day, it wasn't all Survivor Series. You had, a title match or something, but the majority of the show was these 5-on-5 tag matches, and I get why we're not going to have that anymore. I wish we had more than one. Maybe they'll throw another one on the pre-show. I don't know. But pay attention, of course, to WWE's social media. Pay attention to ours. Facebook.com/3CountThursday. Twitter, Instagram @3CountThursday. Ryan, just a few minutes left here. Very briefly, I put it out there on Facebook and things, but TNA is getting a TV deal with Pop TV, which is, I guess, is formerly the TV Guide channel and formerly TVGN or something like that. It is in much more homes than Destination America. I looked it up. If you have DirecTV, I have DirecTV. It's channel 273 on your DirecTV dial, even though it's not a dial. They will be going live on Tuesday nights starting the beginning of January. I think it's January the 5th. The first Tuesday of the month of January, TNA Impact Wrestling will be going live on Tuesday nights. The fact that it's going live intrigues me enough that I'm going to set my DVR. I know you already told me off the air that you don't have this channel, but I'm intrigued enough by the fact that they're going to be doing a live show instead of taping 17 shows in advance, that I'm at least going to tune in, because the wrestling we've talked about is good. Now they need to get the storyline and production up. But it's the little engine that just won't shut down.
Yeah, it's funny. On Facebook, you can look back at your posts from a year or two ago. And just the other day, it must have been when Impact announced that they were going to Destination America. And I had put out there, well, this is the death of TNA. Goodbye, TNA. It was nice knowing you.
Right. I mean,
they somehow weathered the storm.
Some people have been saying it for 12 years.
Well, yeah. Well, there was a time that I really, really enjoyed the product. You know, back when they had AJ Styles and the X Division meant something, and they were putting on really, really innovative matches, and they had the best women's division in pro wrestling. They don't have any of that anymore.
No.
And with NXT just gobbling up talent.
Apparently, Austin Aries and Gunner were at the NXT.
I heard they were backstage. I heard they didn't wrestle.
Right, but I mean that's not a good sign if you're TNA.
It's absolutely,
I'm
not.
sorry.
Not a great sign if you're Ring of Honor either.
Considering
with
James
Aries.
Storm has already gone to NXT.
I don't think he signed a contract yet, though.
No, but I mean, I know he wrestled at the tapings. I don't know who he wrestled or what he did, but he was at the tapings and wrestled this week. So that'll be now 2 matches he's wrestled.
Right.
I know. I believe he tweeted something. You know, fans of Atlanta, sorry about your damn look, like teasing that he could be at Survivor Series. Like I'm pretty sure he's mostly Team WWE at this point.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
The Blue Pants was back at NXT, which we'll talk about. But
spoilers. Well, we're giving away spoilers. Deonna Purrazzo, who we've seen wrestle in the indie scene, was also back.
Awesome.
She actually will be wrestling Asuka.
Very cool.
So that's pretty cool. That's
very
cool.
That's
really cool.
But good for
Again,
TNA.
spoiler. Sorry, but
sorry. Yeah,
too late to say spoiler now. But
spoiler alert.
Right.
We just spoiled shit. But good for TNA that they're getting yet another deal. I mean, it kind of.
No, it sure is.
But
it's getting their product in more houses.
And it's coming off like the night after WWE. So I don't.
Here's the problem: live television costs a lot of money to produce.
Sure,
that's a lot of money.
But if this Pop TV is behind them,
that's pretty much what killed. You got to remember that's what killed ECW. Was putting on programs every single week without the support of a network.
Sure, but whoever
that
owns,
was what the TNN thing.
Whoever owns and operates, I just saw a tweet from somebody that says something relating to huge news. CBS Big Brother fans. Impact debuts 1/5 on Pop TV. So I don't know if they're owned or a subsidiary of CBS. So if there's money there, they're by all means they're gonna strive to make TNA good. Or to get people tuned in. So the fact that it's in more households, it's big.
I mean, it's huge. You go to their website, poptv.com. You can't miss the fact that they're putting pro wrestling on their
TNA did this huge countdown. They blacked out all their social media. They had a countdown on their website. I was actually able to have the countdown open on my thing, and then it was just a video announcing this. I thought it was a little overkill for that, but I guess for them it is a big deal. I couldn't envision the WWE doing that, changing the network. Maybe they're changing the network for Raw. So I guess it could be. It is a big thing. I take back what I said. It was. It definitely was a big thing for TNA. Ryan, really quick, let's talk about a little bit of NXT. We both watched NXT last night. It was a solid show. Great match between Bayley and Alexa Bliss. A very, very woman heavy on last night's show.
3 matches.
You opened the show Nia Jax defeating Carmella. Then you had Emma took on, is it Jessie Kane or something like that? And then of course the main event. So 3 matches in an hour were women. It was a very good. And then of course the big moment from last night was after the Bayley match.
Oh my God!
Eva Marie came out to probably the ugliest heat, the loudest heat.
I'm not gonna go.
Vicky Guerrero heat.
Go back and watch that. It sounds like they turned it down.
Yeah,
they definitely did some editing there. There was editing done to that crowd.
And I love how Eva Marie's like, "Okay, you can be quiet now."
You
because
dorks.
that's going to work. Then she goes, "Okay, be quiet, you bunch of dorks."
Oh God,
Bunch of dorks.
Bunch of dorks.
I love it. The bunch of dorks.
I showed them.
You bunch of dorks. Awesome.
You know who I felt bad for?
Bailey. I like it. You know what my favorite part of
You
how,
want to talk about telling a
Bailey,
story? Look at Bailey's face during that segment.
like trying to be like, just come on, just keep going, or
right. The more you feed into them, the more they're going to rip you apart.
you know, my
Just
favorite
get
part
this
of
over and move on.
it was like, you've seen like the NHL player or the NFL player, the crowd's so loud that they have to lean into the reporter asking the question. Bailey leaned in to try and hear what Eva Marie was saying,
and at a time when the crowd wasn't like overly loud, though. That's how you know they edited it.
How loud that building was, man.
Yeah,
so loud.
I don't know what was going on behind them, but I love watching the crowd because they started turning their backs. Then somehow they stopped turning their backs, and then there was like a guy showing people like his wristwatch or his phone or something.
Like, I mean, it
during
was,
the thing. It was bad.
Here's the thing: the match was. I don't know who won. I assume this is not a spoiler because I didn't look.
I haven't looked at no.
But I would assume that Bailey did not lose to Eva Marie and drop the title to Eva Marie because the match that they were, Eva Marie came out. The whole reason was to tell Bailey that next week it will be Bailey versus Eva for the NXT Women's
What's
Championship.
even worse is she goes, the inevitable is happening.
Well, okay, we know it's kind of like Roman Reigns getting his World Heavyweight Championship. It is kind of the inevitable that Eva Marie was going to be in this. Because to her, she is good. I mean, like, her character, she is good and everybody loves her. Like, that. The beauty of it, sadly, is, like, if you saw the videos over the past couple of weeks when she was in Europe, like, she's really good at her character.
Sure.
It just doesn't parlay into the ring. I will say this.
Is she good at her character? Like oh man, what is her character? Is her character like an awkward redhead wrestler?
Yes.
Because she fits that one to a bill. Like, it's perfect.
I will say this.
And I put wrestler in quotes.
I was very hard, and I remain this until we are proven otherwise now. I was very hard on Eva Marie last week. I said, I can't defend her anymore. But I will say this, that I will be interested to see how she performs with a more seasoned NXT talent. Because up until now, since Eva Marie has been back, she's been booked against people that we have seen. She's been booked against people who are new trainees. So I'll be curious to see how the match looks next week. After
that match, Jim, why don't you head to Twitter and be like, was Eva Marie carried by Bailey and throw a poll up there and see what people say.
I'm pretty sure I can tell you it's gonna be probably about 96-4 if I do that poll.
Roman Reigns is more over as a face than Eva Marie is as a wrestler.
Sure, and like I said, I'm not going to sit here and try and defend her, but I am curious to see how the match is going to go. I will say that.
Okay. Yeah, I like watching a train wreck too, I guess.
We can't look away.
Can't look away. The other match I want to give a shout-out to, just because I love watching it, Chad Gable, Jason Jordan against The Ascension, Victor and Connor.
Oh, it was The Ascension.
Yeah.
Huge pop. If it wasn't for the Bailey chants, that song that the crowd sings, which is totally badass, The Ascension, I think, got the second biggest
probably
pop of the night.
I mean, and Jason Jordan and Chad Gable probably got number 3.
Sure.
Because I think the crowd's just as behind them.
The crowd is definitely getting behind
what I noticed seeing The Ascension back down in NXT, if only for a match, they look like they belong there. Like, they are the big dogs down there. Like, they fill up
and we've
the
talked
ring.
about that when they came to the main roster, you saw how not big they actually were.
Right, and that was their problem.
Yeah.
Great match, though. Fun to watch.
Yeah, fun stuff. Again, this Sunday night, of course, Survivor Series. Ryan, unless you have anything else, let's wrap this thing up.
No, I got it. That's it. You can wrap it up, Jim.
All right, remember, make sure you follow Ryan on Twitter. He is at RYN Eagle. Our stat guy, Matt, is at the number 3CTA Philly, PHILLY, and the number 8 at 3CTA Philly 8. I am at Big Jim Sports. Together, we are at 3 Count Thursday. That is on Twitter. That is on Instagram, Facebook.com/3 Count Thursday. Make sure you go there. You can podcast the show directly by searching 3 Count Thursday in your podcast store. That is both on iTunes and on Android. So do that. Check out all the shows, ngscsports.com. We are on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app. Search NGSC. Do that. You can catch us each and every Thursday night. Again, no live show next week. It's Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time off. We will get product out there, though. We will get a podcast because we're going to preview the Lancaster Championship Wrestling show, which is coming next Saturday night in Lancaster, PA. We'll talk about Survivor Series. We'll talk about Raw. And we'll talk about our experience at the PBR podcast, which we're going to record on Monday night. So thank you for listening, folks. Have a great weekend. And like we say, as always, go for the pin.